Greetings and welcome, viewers. I am your host and storyteller, Sylvanov. Thank you for joining us while we delve into the world of darkness with Vampire the Masquerade. This stream is intended for a mature audience and does contain mature themes that may not be suitable for all viewers. The game revolves around a dark horror theme and contains content that may be an emotional trigger for some audience members. Please keep in mind that this is a work of fiction. The views and actions of the characters are not explicitly the views or actions of the actual players. At no time should any of the violence or horror portrayed in our game be attempted by anyone at any time for any reason. Please sit back, grab a drink and a snack, and join us on the shadowy path that is the world of darkness. And now, before we start, please meet and welcome our players for the evening. James, please introduce yourself.
Sorry, had a bit of a delay there on the mic. My name is PeskyPaladin, and I shall be playing James Morrison.
Go right around the clock. Go ahead, Mohsen.
Hi, I'm Paradox, and I will be reprising the role from a couple of months ago of Special Agent Mohsen al-Daoud.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm Ravenya. You probably already know me, and I'm playing Dr. J. Weiss.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I will be playing Jacqueline Dearie.
And again, I'm Sylvanov, and I'll be your host and storyteller for the afternoon. Thank you once again for joining us. We open our scene with a phone call ongoing between Mohsen, James, and Dr. Weiss as they prepare for an intervention of sorts to attempt to find help for a survivor of the Marrakesh farm incident. They've been in conversation for a couple of weeks, planning and arranging this. Please take it away.
Hello, Dr. Weiss.
Yes, I'm here.
It's Mohsen al-Daoud with the National Institute of Health. Are you sure it is? Okay. Thank you for taking my call. Have you had an opportunity to review the materials you were sent?
I have indeed, and I do believe I can help.
Excellent. We bring the patient immediately.
Hold on one second, Mohsen. Memory is a very fickle thing to deal with. Usually when I try and bring memories back to the surface, it's a long-standing process. Usually they come in, we talk.
Let me stop you. It is possible to do this very quickly, correct?
It's possible, but I want to warn you that it's fallible. If you try and rush this process too much, memories have a habit of altering to what may seem more reasonable or more logical to save the person. So I warn you that if we rush this too much, you could get false positives.
False positives of what? What are we looking for?
Well, we're trying to bring memories back, repressed memories that this woman is having night terrors and that sort of.
So you think that there are repressed memories that are informing the night terrors?
From what you've given me, yes, I think there is some sort of memory element here. Something's been suppressed. But the problem is our minds like to protect themselves. So if you try and rush this process too much, then you may get an absolute figment of memory. It'll appear like a memory. She'll think it's a memory, but it's actually just the mind trying to protect itself. That's all I wanted to warn you about.
Can Figment give us helpful information for the investigation, or can we only interpret true memory?
The Figment might give you hints, but it's like a patchwork. You'll get pieces of truth with falsehoods pushed in. and you would have to try and somehow disseminate that. I just want you to be aware of doing this quickly may cause some of these elements.
If figment is useful with more work, then risk is acceptable. We bring the patient.
Very well.
One other matter, Dr. Weiss, we will be, because this is a sensitive matter, we will be required to undertake a security check of your office. My colleague and I, we will examine your office and make sure that everything is safe. But unfortunately, you cannot be present for this.
All right. I don't see any problems with that.
Of course. If there is anything that you wish to flag as being confidential, please do so, and we will certainly respect your professional obligations.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Client-patient confidentiality is my utmost.
That reminds me, we will have releases for you when we arrive, allowing my partner and I to remain in the room while you treat the patient.
I see. That's not normally how we do things, but I see you already came prepared with the required paperwork.
We are the bureaucracy. We do know how to manage ourselves.
I do appreciate that.
So, thank you very much. We will be along shortly.
All right. I'll prepare.
Excellent.
The scene
James.
fades. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
James, please bring the young lady, Miss Dearie.
Certainly. Yes, certainly. I'll do that. So, is everything set? Are we all good to go?
Yes, let us. We proceed.
Yes, certainly. I'll just go and pick her for us now.
The scene dissolves and picks back up in a car ride into the woods of Prince William Forest, where Dr. Weiss has her cabin, where she has her treatment office, with Mohsen, James, and Jacqueline in the car.
Yeah. So, Jacqueline, how are we feeling about this session?
She's kind of quiet, and she's looking out the window, kind of seeming detached, distant, distracted by the clouds. She doesn't really hear you at first when you say anything. You might have to ask her again to get her attention.
Yeah. And I sort of like try to get her attention again gently, and I go, Jacqueline?
Yes?
Yes. I was just asking, are you how are you feeling at the minute about the session that's coming up?
Oh. It's she doesn't really know what to say. She's just kind of stuck.
I can only imagine that how difficult this may be for you, but just know that the Dr. Weiss and ourselves, we have your best interests at heart, so you have nothing to fear here. But like I said, we'll do what we can and just try and relax, and it'll all be over before you know it.
When James says that we all have her best interests at heart, Mohsen definitely gives him a look.
And I look back at Mohsen and kind of acknowledge, just kind of acknowledge it softly.
Jacqueline, this is exactly what you've been told your entire life would happen if you ever were separated from the family.
So I just be talking to her, right?
Beg your pardon?
I just be talking to her, just her.
Of course.
Treatment. I'm not really used to something like that. Usually, these kind of things where I'm from, we dealt with together. We laughed together. We cried together. We suffered together. And as she says suffered, she kind of detaches again, almost like there's a glimpse in her eye of like something there, like she's trying, like something's trying to get through for a second. And then she comes back and she kind of steadies herself again.
I can imagine that this is unfamiliar territory for you, Jacqueline, but just like I said, everything will be fine.
And as she trails off into thought and staring out the window, the drive continues. It's a pleasant drive through this portion of the Prince William Forest, approaching a small clearing where there's a very nice, rather large log cabin-like building. There's a single car out front, and you all pull up, exit the vehicle, and approach the front door.
Hello? Hello?
I'll be right there. And yeah, she immediately comes and she kind of looks through, sees who it is, and opens the door.
Good afternoon, Dr. Weiss, I presume?
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
You presume correctly.
I am Dr. al-Daoud. This is Dr. Morrison. This is the patient, Miss Dearie.
Yeah. I extend a hand out for a handshake and just say absolute pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, anything to help. And she does shake your hand.
Shall we proceed with the security check?
Please, come in.
Of course. Is there anything that you wish us to preserve and prevent us from looking at?
I've laid some notes. There are pink Post-its.
Of course. Of course. We will of course respect your obligations. Now, if you will excuse us.
Mm-hmm.
James and Mohsen shuffle in, leaving Jacqueline and Dr. Weiss standing on the porch. James and Mohsen, there's a small entryway, an anteroom, and as she's directed you over the phone before, there's a small hallway that leads to her therapy office. Jacqueline and Dr. Weiss meeting
Jacqueline.
for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
You prefer Jax, right?
Yeah, it's what my friend Abby calls me.
It's nice to meet you.
The name
It's
Abby
nice.
rings a direct bell.
It's nice to meet you too. She doesn't make eye contact. She's about 5'8", 5'9", very slender, model fit, very healthy looking. Her hair is very long, down to her mid-back, almost like a curtain draped over her face. Her head being down, she has good posture, but her head's down, almost submissively, hesitant to make eye contact with you or anybody else in the room.
It's all right. You're in a safe place. If it makes you feel better, you could call me Janet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is all just so strange. I don't really know what to do.
It's all right. It's okay.
It's only been a few weeks, and it feels like it just happened yesterday. But
there's so much going on. I understand. It feels like you've just been whiplashed.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. How long have you been doing this for?
I've been a therapy professional, a counselor, if you will, for over 12 years now.
So you're good at what you do. And you do it all by yourself.
Well, I study, I research, I make sure everything is done above board, and I may have some eccentric practices, but the National Health Organizations actually let me proceed as I'm making progress. I look at helping people not as trying to give them medicine to cover up the shortcomings, but to help them actually live a proper life to where they can maintain themselves with their incidences and their triggers. I'm not about just pushing drugs into somebody and making them complacent.
Oh, it sounds hard.
It is harder, but I see that the benefits, the results are much happier people, much more centered people that can actually live their lives the way they want to. And really, Jax, it's okay to not be okay. You're just in the first steps of this process.
She looks off, takes a gander around the porch and starts wandering as it's a large wraparound porch, looking at your various plants in the cold weather. And the scene fades back to James and Mohsen entering into the office.
All right, James, anything with a pink post-it we want pictures of?
I was just about to suggest the same thing. So I whip out my smartphone, get the camera ready, and go to look for anything marked with a pink post-it.
And while he's doing that, Mohsen is setting up the keylogger and bug to gain access to anything electronic that Dr. Weiss has.
As you go through the office and start planting devices, you notice off to the right side of the desk, there's a portion of the wall that's been freshly painted. Looks like it's some kind of repair. A closer inspection, there's a few little sparkles of light on the ground. When you look closer, it's pieces of glass that weren't exactly caught by a vacuum cleaner or what have you. But it's very clear that something was viciously thrown against a wall very recently.
Mohsen pulls out his phone and he takes a quick picture of all of these things, and he sends them off to control with a note, camera install team requested.
And as James goes about taking his pictures, he too notices a few off-color splotches on the carpet beneath her desk. Trained eyes focus in very quickly on what is clearly some dried blood on the carpet.
I kind of crouch down to look at it more closely, and I take another photograph, and I sort of gesture over to Mohsen and say, Mohsen, if you get a second, have a look at this. Now, what do you think this could be? Very, very. It's looks like blood, essentially. Have you found anything interesting?
There appears to be some evidence of physical struggle that is, shall we say, perhaps lacking in text.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Perhaps it is blank, if you will.
Yes, could be. This isn't just a bad day at the office, I wouldn't assume.
There is either a client who is of particular interest, or the doctor herself is of particular interest.
And he kind of thinking, like twiddles his mustache a bit and goes, yes, we should make a note of that. Just further into the investigation.
Already done. Control is already aware.
This is why I enjoy working with you, Mohsen.
It's certainly not my sparkling personality.
Oh, come now, Mohsen.
The two
The bug-
doctors.
You're an absolute delight.
The bug is prepared, and I believe he does a couple of test keystrokes, checks his device. Goes, yes, I own it now.
The two doctors. Oh, go ahead. Mohsen was saying that he had tested her computer, and in fact, he now owns anything that happens on that device.
Okay.
The two doctors finish up their scouring, planting, and investigating the office and head back towards the front of the cabin. Exiting out, Jacqueline is off to one side, kind of fingering a couple of plants here and there. Dr. Weiss is standing almost where you left her, in the center of the porch, right near the front door.
Mohsen goes and takes Jax's arm, says, we are ready now. Let us proceed.
She flinches a little bit at the touch, and she looks at him almost terrified.
Yeah. I kind of extend a hand out, sort of in the sort of a calming manner, and go, so it's okay, Jacqueline. It's okay. And kind of have a reassuring tone. Everything's going to be okay.
Dr. Weiss, it occurs to you that maybe you should escort her as opposed to these two brutish.
Jax, why don't you come with me?
Okay.
It's fine.
Dr. Weiss
Mohsen
takes a couple
hands
of
her off.
paces. Dr. Weiss takes a couple of paces in Jacqueline's direction. I'm pretty sure Jacqueline wouldn't notice, but maybe James and Mohsen notice that a couple of the plants that are potted on the railing begin to wither a little.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Jacqueline, as
it'll be
Dr.
all right,
Weiss takes your
Jax.
arm, there's a weird sensation. You're not sure what it is. It's a little eerie, but comforting. It's not something you've experienced before. She's not like anybody you've ever come into contact before. Not even the prophet's friends. She's different. And she leads you inside, past the anteroom, down the hallway, and into the therapy room, where Mohsen and James follow.
And this is where we are going to do our session today, Jax. I have some questions before we start. I hope you don't mind.
Okay.
Have you done any mind-altering substances? Any drugs? Any...
No.
All right, all right. What we're going to do today is called a... It's going to be a little bit of hypnotism, a little bit of suggestion. I'm going to be giving you a particular tea that'll help relax you and bring your mind more forward where you're more cognizant. This tea does indeed have a mind-altering substance in it. It's just to help you be cognizant of your own mind. I'm going to be giving you some sunglasses. There is a much more comfortable looking mat right here for you to lay in. I even have music. It just helps bring back what we're trying to repress from ourselves, as long as it's done right. But the thing is, with this particular mind-altering substance, you still have control of everything. You still have cognizance. You're still going to be you, and we can stop at any time, and I can bring you to a more calm state. With this, your environment is more sensitive, if you will.
It won't hurt at all.
No. The worst it will is taste bad. Do you like mint tea, chai tea, or black tea?
Mint. It was my mom's favorite.
Honey or sugar?
Honey, please.
Do you like your tea extra sweet or?
Sweet.
All right. Now that we've covered this, I would like to ask you to stand up on the scale. And she steps to the side, and you do see there is a scale here, a medical grade.
She gets a little hesitant at first, and then she takes a step on it. It kind of reminds her of when her mom used to ask her to step on a scale to weigh her once in a while. And she waits.
The only reason I'm weighing you is I need to make sure I give you a proper dose. If I give you too little, the effects won't actually really help. If I give you too much, you might be stuck in this heightened state for days instead of, several hours.
Okay.
And she takes a look at the weight, she writes it down, and she does a little bit of math before she goes over to where there's already a pot of hot water.
What looks like a
And
small kitchenette and an apothecary's desk with lots of little drawers and little hidey holes.
she walks over and she's basically brewing a kettle of tea. She pulls out a small bag and she weighs the ingredients. It's brown and it's pre-ground. Before she throws that into a tea bag and puts it into the pot to steep.
And while she's doing that, I will take a step off the scale, and my arms are crossed over my body, almost protective in a way, and just looking around the room, trying to get a better idea of who this person is that I'm talking to.
It's a very warm and inviting environment, very calm and soothing, very neutral colors. Everything seems to be in its place, like it's very, very meticulous.
If you'd like, you could actually take a seat on that mat and make yourself comfortable.
Okay. I'll slowly lower myself onto the mat. Her hands are a little bit sweaty, so she brushes her hands on her pants, trying to get them to be nice and clean. And her body language is very closed. Her legs are closed together. Her posture still nice and straight up, and her head down. Again, very submissive, waiting patiently.
Dr. Weiss does notice this, and she kind of smiles and says, "It's all right. You can be as comfortable as you want. If you'd like to sit like that, you're just fine. I notice, being a therapist, you notice certain body positions, body language, and you seem to be restricting yourself. I understand this is an unknown place, and you've been through quite a lot."
Mohsen,
Yeah.
James, are you two kind of hawking, or are you taking seats?
Mohsen is posted up by the new wall with with his phone in his hand, and he is, I put my hand behind me like you can see. he's got his phone behind him, and he is gathering data on the composition of the wall.
Okay.
Some really fine-grained information about what happened to the wall.
Sure.
After a few minutes, you see Dr. Weiss grab sprigs of mint and throw it into the teapot as well.
I'm gonna look over my shoulder, the two watching, and when I look at Mohsen, my body tenses up a little bit. Feels a little strange having him here. She kind of gets these weird vibes from him that she's more of just a burden, and now he's kind of burdening her in this situation. And she looks over at James, and she starts to relax just a little bit because he kind of reminds her of someone from the compound where she used to live.
Yeah. James looks back at her and just kind of gives a slight smile and a reassuring nod, kind of so go on, it's okay.
And she returns the nod and continues.
Dr. Weiss is preparing the tea, adding the honey. Why don't you start with telling me something you do remember? Do you have any happy memories you'd like to share?
Oh, yeah. She starts to smile immediately when you say happy memories. And the first thing that comes to mind is playing with the other kids on the land and running around and all the games that they would play, playing tag and hide and go seek. And, you know, when her mom and dad used to chase after her around the house when she would make a mess. And she tells you these things, and she just goes on and on about like her childhood memories. She focuses a lot on her childhood. She doesn't really talk much about, you know, as she comes to like 13 or 16 years old. She's about 18 years old currently. So she focuses a lot on those childhood memories.
Is there anything more recent that's happy? I'm curious. As she's bringing the tea, and it's a nice cup, saucer set that she's setting to the side. She's also got water, but she's looking directly at Jax and trying to smile and give that sense of warmth.
When you say recent that happened, there's a mixed expression on my face, very mixed feelings of trying to remember. The last thing that I remember that brought me a lot of excitement and nervousness at the same time was, well, the day where I was supposed to do one of our sacred traditions where I was from. I was being prepared by my mother. She picked out my outfit that day and she dressed me up, washed me, made sure that I was nice and clean, smelled of lavender. And she put this really pretty blue ribbon in my hair. And it was just a really nice, soft moment. She was telling me how this was such a special honor that finally I was ready. This was my time. And she was so excited for me. And we kind of shared that feeling together. And I didn't want to let go of that moment. It was supposed to be, this tradition was supposed to be private between him and I. And
him.
He made you tea.
Who are you referring to in specific? And Dr. Weiss has already kind of put a note. She has already started writing a little bit. If any of the other two are in the room, they might be able to take a gander over.
There's probably enough distance that they can't shoulder surf.
Okay, I was just making sure.
But the scent.
But Mohsen has absolutely pulled out a small notebook of his own and has also started writing.
I just kind of, because I'm rested up against one of the walls, but then I kind of stand up straight and edge over slightly, listening a little bit more intently, without trying to sort of like alert them that I'm getting too close.
Sure. There's a small table and chairs offset a little behind Dr. Weiss, where you would be unobtrusive, as it were.
Hmm.
Kind of the opposite side of the room from Mohsen, where
Yeah.
you would also have kind of a line of sight on Jacqueline as well.
Yeah. I go over to said table and I kind of sit/lean against it and continue to look over towards Jacqueline.
And to make sure that I understand the spacing, James and Mohsen would, once he moves to this table, James and Mohsen would be able to see one another.
Yes.
Right. But
yeah, you're kind of on
Dr.
opposite
Weiss
sides.
Right. Dr. Weiss would only be able to see Mohsen, and Jax would only be able to see James.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
I kind of
If
have you
you've
guys on the
actually
wrong
been paying
sides of the
attention to Dr.
screen.
Weiss, she's trying to ignore that you are there, actually.
Dr. Weiss presses a button on a remote. The lights soften. Some nice soothing music begins. She stirs the tea and begins to pour a cup. The scent of brewed tea, the slight mint, Jacqueline, definitely brings back that day of preparation. People around you being loving and supportive and encouraging. Everything was about Jacqueline the entire day. The presentation, the day before of festivities and just fun times, and the younger children looking up to you, the older children expectantly happy for you. The adults all pride beaming from all of them. At least in this moment, in this breath, it's comfortable.
Yes, him. He went by Ezekiel. He was our prophet. He was amazing, handsome. We did everything for him. And I was supposed to share a very special moment with him.
Have met Ezekiel.
You know
briefly.
him. And then she starts to get even more like just a washed relief. Like, yes, there's someone else who knows who he is. And she starts talking about him, about everything that he would do for the community, about the way he was so spiritual and how he moved everyone there, and the dances that they would do, the get-togethers, the celebration, the music. She was never restricted from these things. Anything to do with pleasure, especially bodily pleasure, was very much encouraged. And she would talk about these amazing things, and she seemed really happy. But then all of a sudden, as she recalls that now she doesn't have it anymore. It's gone now. She takes a breath and she gets really quiet.
It's all right, Jax. Things have happened. The world has been turned on its head, as it were. And you're having to move forward with a great loss.
It's so foggy, you know. I was there with everyone one moment, and I don't know. They're gone. My mom is gone. I can't. And she starts to shake a little bit.
Jax, there's a flash of a brief second of memory of something vaguely monstrous terrifying. It's there and it's gone. The face of a person, the word forget echoes in your head. And
She's trying to fight. Like there's a moment of like, what's happening? A battle you can see on her face almost.
It's all right, Jax. Breathe. I'm going to lead you through a little something that seems to help my clients when they're dealing with a stressful situation. If you feel like it's too much, it seems that tapping both sides, we kind of call it butterfly kisses. Both sides of your shoulders repeatedly tends to actually bring you a little bit more focus, a little bit more on the here and now. It does indeed help. It's actually quite an amazing technique called EMDR.
Okay. And have I been drinking the tea during this?
Not yet.
she hasn't handed it to you yet.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a really rough spot in your mind, I can tell.
It comes and goes, sometimes even dreams that I have. And it seems so real, like it literally just happened. And I feel so close to the details, and then it's gone. In a
Grasping
flash.
at the memory, the chapel filled with pretty much everyone you know, or at least the important people, the main people, their faces suddenly fade. And it's like grasping at an image that you can't remember.
Well, obviously, there's something in your memory that needs to come to the surface for you to heal, for you to be able to move on. And that's why you're having these nightmares and these traumatic moments. That seems to be what's going on.
I don't know if I'm ready to face them, but a part of me feels like I have to.
To be able to move on from trauma, you have to be able to stand there and face it and be able to say, yes, that did happen. Yes, it did happen. It was a terrible thing, but I'm still here. And I will move on.
James,
See,
from
Jax,
across the room, you can see Mohsen looking a bit impatient.
see, Jax, I've just met you, but from talking with you, I strongly believe that you're a fighter and you're going to get through this. And she reaches over and kind of squeezes her hand.
And I'll take it and I'll squeeze really hard, because it reminds me of the times where I would talk to those in the community and they would do the same thing, that same comfort to know that I'm not alone in this moment, that I have someone there who can actually get it, who I feel would know what it was like there for some reason. But I feel that you would be able to understand me.
At this point, Dr. Weiss has kind of leaned you back onto the mat a little bit, and she has handed you the cup of tea. If you can, I would like you to hold the tea in your mouth as long as possible. It is bitter. If you have to just down it, you can. It just helps with the effects.
Okay. I put the cup to my lips and I take a sip and I try to hold it in my mouth for as long as I can. Again, mixed of expressions of this is strange, but then at the same time, this tastes very familiar. Why does it taste so familiar? And I kind of look off a little bit with this very puzzled look And finally, I swallow.
If you are capable, I would like you to finish the cup, but if you can't, I understand it's a very bitter brew.
I'll try my best to, and I end up leaving maybe just about like a quarter left in the cup, and I'll put it down next to me.
And I'll move the cup aside because I think you're done, and it will be replaced with a bottle of water. If the lights get too bright in here, I have sunglasses. If the music gets too loud, I can turn it down. You are going to be in a safe place. It's just you're also going to be in a very heightened, sensitive state.
Okay. How long will it take to kick in?
Even as you
Not-
say that, colors start to enhance. Things get a little crisper, a little brighter, a little more vivid. Your own voice in your ears sounds just a hair slow.
Start looking around the room with this new vision that I've taken on, and everything seems like, wow, very pronounced. And my eyes get a little bit big, just taking everything in, like, whoa. And I look back at Dr. Weiss, and I'm just staring at her like, is this, I'm feeling something. Is this,
I see you've answered your own question.
I'm so fast. And she, her hands, she's looking at them and just lightly touching them back and forth, just really taking in the sensation and the effects of the tea, touching her face.
There's
her
a bit
hair.
of disassociation with the tactile sensations. They're delayed. Things feel muted.
And I'm going to take this nice fleece velvety kind of blanket and just drape it over her body.
Mohsen, he doesn't say anything. He just pulls out a digital recorder and sets it up next to Jack's and starts it listening.
I don't know the recorder. I just, as soon as the blanket comes on me, it's just like, whoa, like sensation overload, and just like rubbing and just being one, trying to be one with the blanket. Like, wow, this is amazing.
And Jax's mind becomes more fluid.
I was going to say, I give a look over to Mohsen as he gets the recorder ready, and try like I look out, and then I look at Jacqueline, just kind of fascinated by as like observing this experience that she's going through, like sort of trying to think what is going on in her head right now, like just like genuine curiosity.
Deep breaths, Jax. Yes. I'm going to lead you through a eye exercise that's going to probably make your eyes a little tired. All right. So you're going to look up and then down. Just your eyes, not your head. Up and down. And she does this for a couple of minutes or so to...
It doesn't take that long. She seems to be very susceptible to hypnotic process. Within a couple, 2 or 3, she seems to take on that look.
I want you to think about that day, that pretty blue ribbon your mother put in your hair, how everybody was so happy for you.
That ribbon was hers during her time. It was really special to her. Her smell was still on the ribbon, that lavender smell. And then her face scrunches up. Do you smell that? Smells Metallic, yeah. And then it's stuck now in her nose and she can't get rid of it. And you see her like kind of like batting at her nose, trying to get the smell to go away. It smells so, why so intense? And
Reminds
then like
Jacqueline of the animals on the farm when it's time for slaughter and harvest.
She starts to rub her fingers together like she's feeling a type of substance, and then she's like, it feels like it's everywhere now, on my body, my clothes, the smell, the texture, wet, warm, like blood. And then she sees red on her hands and she's shaking. And
It's all right. It's all right. Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
it's everywhere. It's all over me. It's all over the other kids, the adults. It's coming from them. It's coming from their body. It's everywhere.
There's a flash of two presences in your mind that were overpowering. The sensation of awe coming from two individuals. Their faces are quite clear in your mind. One being of Miss Virginia Stone, one of Ephraim's friends. The other of a gentleman who was introduced as Victor. The gods.
The gods were there. The gods were there. They wanted something from us. There was this, they were talking, so much talking. And then they said something about blood. And then it was everywhere. They tried to take us and put us somewhere else. I didn't understand. I tried to look for my mom's face in the crowd.
But she was flashes of violence. Individuals going from person to person, opening them, biting at them, tearing at them.
My mom was everywhere. They ripped her apart. She was everywhere. She was on me.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths. You're still here. This is
then there's the
just
face
memory
of the prophet, smiling, warm, inviting, comforting. A broad smile crosses his face as his mouth gapes impossibly widely open, rows of sharp teeth behind a toothy grin as he comes at you.
His teeth, they were so big. And he grabbed me. He was on me too. I tried to get him off me. He said, he whispered things in my ear to give in, to stay still, that it would be done and over with. And then she recalled in the car what the two individuals had said to her, that this moment here would be done and over with too. And it just triggers even more that it was so intense, just this wave of that. I don't know what happened. I was there, he was on me, and I tried to fight back, but he didn't want me to, and I didn't know what to do. I called out for my mom, and no one came, no one helped. They just watched. and everyone else is just gone.
The
I don't
vision
know.
of the 5 friends of the prophet going from person to person, adult to adult, father, mother, it didn't matter. They all seemed, it's surreal, it's unreal. You can't even believe what's flashing in your brain. And it's violent. It is so violent. People dropping to the ground, dead.
Start shaking and rocking back and forth. Make it stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. Make it stop.
Dr. Weiss is going
Go
to crank
away.
the music louder to try and bring up the sense of here and now.
And the music kind of sounds familiar to her too. And suddenly there's a memory of her and Abby at a club when they had snuck away from the compound and they were dancing together to this kind of music too. And she remembers Abby saying, you know, this is what it's like. There's more here than what they've shown you. And she remembers her saying, now you can dance for you. Dance for you. And she keeps hearing it like an echo. Dance for you. Dance for you. And the rocking turns more into a swaying. Dance for you. And she even says it out loud. Dance for you. Dance for you.
Yes, be you, not them. You dance for you. You be you in the moment.
Mohsen writes in his notebook, "Dance for you?" ? And then he starts like playing with variations of the words to see if there's something that he can spot from the files.
The respite is momentary as the wash and the wave of the hallucinogenics really begin to take over, as if they could do more. There's a moment of memory of the monsters shuffling children out into the cold night air to face the one they named Victor, one after another telling all the children to forget, shuffling them quickly into a pair of buses as the sounds and horror behind you, the screams of terror, bodies hitting the floor, sickly, wet sounds echoing from outside of the chapel. Even the voice of the prophet, almost a maniacal, devilish kind of sound, the weird slurping. It's sickening. Turns your stomach almost in a retch.
Start to feel nauseous. And I'm reaching out to try to steady myself and steady this feeling. But it's like right there. I can feel it about to come up. And I see his face still. Ezekiel, why? I thought I was special. Supposed to be my day. Why? 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 And you just break down crying. Why? Why? Over and over again.
Dr. Weiss does reach out and try and physically comfort her. There is a waste bucket nearby, as she's had clients previously vomit from these procedures.
Jacqueline, as she reaches towards you, that sensation that you felt on the porch returns almost tenfold, almost alien, threatening, even as she smiles and is clearly non-threatening. In the back of your head, it's not right. She's part of this.
No, don't. I push her away. Don't touch me. Don't come near me.
Just breathe. Breathe.
Even James, who's in your line of sight, now looks the thought processes that you've been taught for the whole of your life. They're from the government. This can't be good. This is all a lie. They're putting this in my head.
This can't be. No way. No way. No way. I had a happy life. I had a happy life. Everything was fine. It was fine. This isn't real. It's not real. It didn't happen. No way. No way. No way. No way. No way.
You experienced a traumatic event, and your world has shifted. The first step is admitting something has happened.
No way. No way.
Mohsen, it occurs to you that she's at the right mindset to gather information.
Thank you very much, Dr. Weiss. I believe we have accomplished what we need to accomplish.
She isn't ready to...
She is ready.
You
We're
have to
leaving.
understand that she's in a very sensitive state right now. You take her out.
Yes, I'm aware.
You take her out there, the light is going to be too bright. She is going to be overstimulated, and things may not go right.
I can understand your...
What is right, Dr. Weiss? What is right?
For her to be able to calm and come down and regain and ground herself properly.
Does that give us what we need?
I believe she will be able to help you.
No. This is a tool.
I've had enough. I
We are
try to
leaving.
get up.
Yes,
and
come along. Come
I
along.
still
Leave.
see colors, and I'm trying to follow the colors.
I push a pair of sunglasses into her hands. I also put a pair of earplugs just in case. And I look at James, who seems to be the more reasonable person, and I walk over to my desk and I hand him a care sheet.
I accept the care sheet and I say, I can understand your concerns, Dr. Weiss, and they are justified. However, please rest assured that we will take the utmost of care of Jacqueline here, and everything will be all right.
And at that, she starts just randomly laughing. She just uncontrollably, just starts breaking down laughing. Take care of me. Take care of me.
This is why I specify that this process to do one session usually takes 3 days. This is why it's hard to rush this, and this is the ramifications of so. But you have a care sheet. It talks about the overstimulation that she is going to be dealing with. She is going to be need a nice, calm environment to be able to properly come down, so that this event isn't even more traumatic.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we will take that. We will take that very seriously, Dr. Weiss. You need not worry.
Yeah. He gives a cursory glance over the care sheet, kind of not really taking it in, and then he looks up and he goes, "Look, thank you very much, and we will follow this to the letter and do our best to ensure she is in the best of health."
You better do so. Jax,
Oh.
if you ever need me, don't hesitate to call on me.
And she's she has this very strange smile on her face. She can't explain why, but just don't worry, doctor, they'll take care of me. They'll take care of me. And then blank. They'll take care of me.
Jacqueline herself, without being motivated, starts walking away. what she sees on her way out is a line of the 5 friends of the prophet. Their smiling faces, escorting her out almost. The last 2 faces she sees as she exits the cabin, that of Victor, the prim and proper, his voice commanding, the echoing of forget. Forget. And the warm, comforting face of Ezekiel Ephraim White. That caring, nurturing face. The most soft vision you've ever seen. Stained from chin to waist in blood. As James and Mohsen join you, James softly ushering you by the arm into the car. Mohsen quickly getting in, leaving Dr. Weiss in a rush. There's a mission that needs to be accomplished as they close the car doors and drive away, leaving Dr. Weiss as quickly as they had arrived. The car makes its way back to the facility for NIM, the National Institute of Mental Health, where Mohsen and James quickly escort Jacqueline out of the vehicle into the building where she's been cared for several weeks. And as they go through the maze of hallways, instead of taking the right towards the dormitory and the other people being cared for in the nice warm lounges, the comfortable rooms filled with plants and soft paintings, TVs, couches, and chairs, instead, they turn left, facing a door requiring a proximity badge to open. It's cold. It's gray. They usher her down the hallway. The clinical gray-white paint everywhere. No labels on doors. They quickly go to a room, open it, and escort Jacqueline in to sit at a steel table with a single chair on one side and 2 on the other. A large mirror-like window on one wall. 4 cameras, one in each corner of the upper side of the room, in this stark contrast from Dr. Weiss's office. And they sit down with Jacqueline, still reeling from the effects of Dr. Weiss's tea.
So at this point, James looks at the care sheet once more and looks over at Jacqueline, and whilst without breaking his gaze, he just scrumples the care sheet and throws it into the corner of the room.
I
Jacqueline,
knew
these are
eventually
not
you would
your friends.
understand.
Yes, well, we have a job to do here, and we can't be held up with any unnecessary follies, let's say.
Boss snap.
He then takes his glasses off, looks at the table, and then just stares at Jacqueline and says, "Well, that did indeed seem like a very intense session, but I think it's now time that we got to work. Don't you, Jax?"
Uh-huh.
And
That's
with
good.
that, we're going to pause our scene. Thank you all for joining us for this vignette. Yet another interesting episode in the life of Dr. Janet Weiss and her dragging in to the world of darkness. Please stay with us. We're going to briefly run a quick mental health PSA for our viewing audience. When that is complete, we will come right back for a short wrap-up and then invite you all to join us in chat to discuss the vignette afterwards. We will return in a moment. Please stay around for our PSA. We'll return in just a couple moments.
Hello, I'm Nick Weird. You may know me as Chops. I'm here to remind you that your mental health is a very important thing. We all have problems, and sometimes it can be hard to share them because we don't want to burden other people, or we're too afraid or ashamed of the things we've done to even try. But your friends and family are here for a reason. They'd much rather hear about what's happening in your life than ever hear that something terrible has happened to you. And if you feel like you can't talk to your friends or family, there's resources available for that too. Please reach out to them. There's no need to go through this alone. We all need help sometimes, and there's no reason to feel ashamed or feel afraid to ask for it, especially if you need it right now.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, whether they are considering suicide or not, please call the toll-free lifeline at 800-273-TALK. Again, that is 800-273-8255 to speak with a trained crisis counselor 24/7. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline connects you with a crisis center in the Lifeline network that is closest to your location. Your call will be answered by a trained crisis worker who will listen empathetically and without judgment. The crisis worker will work to ensure that you feel safe and identify options and information about mental health services in your area. Your call is confidential and free. Unable or unsure about calling? Text NAMI, that is N-A-M-I, to 741-741 to connect with a trained crisis counselor to receive free 24/7 crisis support via text message. Again, text NAMI to 741-741. You are not alone. Trained expert advocates are available 24/7 to provide confidential support to anyone experiencing domestic violence or seeking resources and information. Help is available in Spanish and other languages. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-SAFE. Again, that is 800-799-7233. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, help is available. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-HOPE. Again, that number is 800-656-4673. To connect with a trained staff member from a sexual assault service provider in your area that offers access to a range of free services. Disaster Distress Helpline. Call 1-800-985-5990 or text TALK WITH US to 66746. The Disaster Distress Helpline provides immediate crisis counseling for people who are experiencing emotional distress related to any natural or human-caused disaster. The helpline is free, multilingual, confidential, and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call 1-800-985-5990 or text TALK WITH US to 66746. 746. Again, the number is 1-800-985-5990 or text "Talk with Us" to 66746.
And welcome back. Thank you for hanging out with us while we rolled that PSA. We just want you guys to know that we take mental wellness and health very seriously. We deal with some very dark material in the world of darkness, and we don't want to make light of it. This is not something we venture into unknowingly. The players and I have actually conferenced several times over the last couple of weeks about how to approach this subject matter and to present it in such a way that it's respectful of people who have been through extremely traumatic events. And I hope that we did a good job. We hope that you enjoyed our stream, and we also hope that you will join us in chat afterwards. Our friends here in the chat, feel free to plug the Discords, link everybody, invite them to join us. I will post a link to the Zoom chat in the Prince William by Night channel on the McStabber Studios Discord. Again, I'd like to thank my players for doing a fantastic job. You all are amazing. I think you all handled the material extremely well, and thank you so much for helping to put this together. To the rest of you and the viewing audience, thank you for joining us once again, and we look forward to seeing you later this evening for our normal time, our normal game time at 7 p.m. Eastern for Prince William by Night proper. We will look forward to seeing you then, and I will see you all shortly in the chat. I hope that our players here will hang out for a little while to say hi. Thank you all. We love you, and we'll see you all soon.